Hi, I'm Jeanne Fiorini. Thanks for being here at the Tarot Tips. I received several requests from subscribers to talk a little bit about both the Hierophant card and the Temperance card. So that's going to be the topic of our conversation today. It's interesting that both of these can be problematic for people since they do have a relationship one to the other. Obviously, they're both major arcana cards. But numerologically, these two cards are connected. The Hierophant is card number 5, and the Temperance is card 14. So 1 and 4 is 5. These cards have an interplay between the two of them. Essentially, short and sweet, the Hierophant is the teacher, and the Temperance is the integration of the message, the integration into a new form of a new experience. So let me talk a little bit about that, all of that. I'm happy to talk a little bit about the Hierophant because I know that he gets a very bad rap. And partly because in many decks he looks very papal. He looks very ecclesiastical. He looks kind of haughty sometimes. And certainly in some decks, Mother Peace comes to mind, the Mother Peace Tarot. I think he's really depicted as kind of a menacing, oligarchical kind of a ruler. And so all the cards in the tarot, especially the major arcana, have importance for us as we move along the path of life. And the Hierophant does play an important role in all of our development as conscious human beings, as the teacher. It is a little unfortunate that the first images that we sometimes have of the Hierophant is this, kind of overbearing red male figure sitting in this, very authoritative posture. But essentially the Hierophant, I like to use the broad term, is the teacher. So you can think of Hierophant as mentor, guide, helper, therapist, sometimes doctor, sometimes advisor. I don't know if I said counselor, but that kind of persona that's in the community. Somebody who, through experience and through wisdom, has something to teach us. These are people who we go to when we need help. Not somebody sitting across the coffee table having a nice conversation with a girlfriend or a sister or something, but somebody we would seek out advice from. This could be a little league coach. This could be your tax advisor. It doesn't have to be someone connected to anything spiritual or religious. But the idea about the Hierophant card is that someone, and notice how large the Hierophant image or Hierophant figure in your card is. A lot of times if there's other people in the card, they're very much smaller. And the idea is that this person has garnered wisdom, has garnered power by what they've learned and what they have to share. Sometimes it can be tricky when the Hierophant card comes up because the question then is, okay, am I the teacher or am I the person who needs to be taught? And sometimes it's, well, I need to be taught so that I can become a teacher. And I'm using teacher in the broadest sense. How do I assist others along their path? How do I take what I've learned and share that with other people? I like the image in the Mythic Tarot, which shows the Chiron image, Chiron. Chiron was the trainer or the teacher of the heroes in the Greek mythologies. Sort of like Merlin and Arthur's court, who would, the story when Arthur was a younger boy, that Merlin shared his wisdom, shared his knowledge, shared his experience with Arthur so that he could become who he became. Likewise, the heroes in the Greek myth had this Chiron teacher, the wounded healer, in those stories, because Chiron could not go out on the journey on his own. He couldn't do so, he taught. It gives new import to the role of the teacher in our culture. So the Hierophant embodies all of that. And sometimes, especially with the major arcana cards, we run into a difficulty because the major arcana cards have symbolic meaning, they have archetypal meaning, they have esoteric symbolism around them, which practically is never ending. On, it seems like we could talk for hours on any one major arcana card. But then the question becomes, well, what does it mean when it comes up in a reading? Which is really, you've got these two aspects of the major arcanas, the big, huge esoteric import, and what do I do with that when it comes up in a reading for me? I think that's even more true about the Temperance card. So the Temperance card shows us an angel at a pond. Again, I'm working with the Rider-Waite-Smith version of the cards. And she's in this intermediary kind of a place. She's got one foot in the water, one foot on the land. She's pouring between cups, and the water is moving in a way that water does not move in the physical plane. We see an angel in the physical world. There's all this juxtaposition of opposites in that card. Sometimes the cups are silver and gold. Another image of the opposites. So we get this idea that there's some blending, there's some reconfiguration going on in the Temperance card, which is sometimes why this card is called the Healing Angel. If you look very closely on the Rider-Waite image of Temperance, you'll see that the wings have both red and blue color, making kind of a purplish hue on her wings. Now the red and the blue, again, the lunar principle and the solar principle, combining in a new way. So the Temperance, and we can see in the background that the sun is breaking the horizon. We get the sense that we're at some sort of liminal time of the day, that we're in between the worlds here. So Temperance is thought of as a healing card. Crowley calls this one art. And while it could refer to the alchemical art, it's also the art of integrating and living creatively. Temperance challenges us to listen to the inner imperative. And almost every time when I talk about the Temperance card, I go like this, because something from the inside wants to get expressed without judgment, without agenda. So in some ways, that's art as well. What does the artist do? The artist takes an inner imperative, whether it's I'm hearing a song in my head and I need to write that down, or I'm hearing a poem, or I have a creative impulse to draw a painting. We can't really assign a rhyme or a reason or a linear motivation for that, but still there's this impulse to create or to express. That's what the Temperance card is about. When I very first started teaching tarot, I had a student it was springtime, and I live on the coast of Maine in the United States, and she was saying how she was going to the beach and picking up seashells and rocks and coming home and dyeing them with Easter eggs, just because it felt good, just because it was satisfying to her. And in some ways, that's a very good description of the Temperance card. Art for art's sake. Creativity, self-expression, just for the sake of self-expression. So all of that is kind of esoteric, It brings us back to the point, well, what do I do with that when it comes up in a reading? Essentially, the Temperance card says, take it easy, okay? Try to just doggy paddle where you are. Try to listen to your inner imperatives. What wants to happen in any given moment? This is definitely a card that would deter somebody from setting up an agenda. At 1 o'clock I'm going here, and then I'm going to exercise, and then I'm going to take a nap. No. Temperance card would say, what do I feel like in this moment? I think I'll take a walk. Okay, I'll do that. Or maybe I'll get out my old flute and start playing the flute. I haven't played the flute in years. Whatever that is, Temperance card is listening to what the flow of life wants to give to us. So we're straddling the worlds there. We're kind of in our regular life, but we're kind of outside it at the same time. anybody, let's take an extreme example. Anybody who's either had a very serious illness or experienced the death of a loved one, remembering that Temperance sits between the death card as 13, then we have Temperance 14, 15's the devil. So after the death card comes that liminal period. After life changed, we're in that kind of middle zone. We're in that that sense that things are being rearranged in a new way. The pieces of my life got torn apart back here in the death card with that experience, whatever that was, sickness, illness, something that shook us, that changed us. And now we're in the middle zone. Even if someone, let's say, just had a baby. Anybody who just had a baby knows that those first couple of months are very liminal. They're very kind of days run into one another, and it's all very squishy kind of. So when Temperance card comes up, it encourages that allowing of nature to do what nature needs to do. Do I need to rest? Do I need to eat? Do I need to create? Do I need to express? Be gentle with yourself. Be allowing of the inner movements, the kind of rhythms of your day and of your experience. So the Hierophant, as ruled by Taurus, can be a structure, can be a guidepost to us. Temperance, ruled by Sagittarius, Sagittarius about travel and adventure and going to new worlds and exploration. The Temperance is the sometimes enjoyable but sometimes challenging place where we're experiencing a new reality and learning to integrate that. Okay, so that's not the final word on either one of those cards, but hopefully that will help you see those cards as how they relate to each other, and also as well as individually what they might mean when they come up in a reading. Hierophant, who can guide me, who can help me, who's in the outer world, who can help me solve my problem or help me be more effective in my life. And then also, how do I do that for other people? How do I teach? How do I lead by example? Anything like that. Temperance, how do I need to be gentle with myself? How do I need to let something be whatever it is? How do I need to go with the flow? How do I need to not fight the river? All those kinds of metaphors. Okay? A lot of words. I hope that's helpful to you. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.